The Yankees may have seen the last of the captain in New York, but you can't get rid of me. What's up and welcome to 3 in the Key. I'm your host and captain for today, Ben Allen. Today, ACC aficionado and Syracuse Orange broadcaster Jake Higgins will be Skyping in with us, and Nick Schwartz, Shane Jackson, and Josh Kurlak will be joining the debate desk to talk KU football and share their own personal poems about their favorite Derek Jeter moments. I wish. Now, let's get you up to date on what you missed. Derek Jeter's farewell to Yankee Stadium is complete. The captain went out in a form that only could have been scripted in movies. Derek Jeter left fans emotional, and with one great final moment in the bottom of the ninth in a 5-5 game, Jeter steps to the plate and drove the ball to Nick Markakis in right field, allowing Richardson to score from second base. This was Jeter's first walk-off hit in 7 years and was reportedly his last game at shortstop. Jeter may have had a rocky last season, but he proved once more that he is the king of the big stage in New York City. Tony Stewart told the Associated Press in a recent interview that his role in the accident that resulted in the death of sprint car driver Kevin Ward was 100% an accident. Stewart was recently determined free from charges by a grand jury. Stewart said, quote, "I know 100% in my heart and in my mind that I did not do anything wrong," end quote. A toxicology report also determined that the 20-year-old Ward had marijuana in his system at the time of his entering the track to confront Stewart. The Ward family has publicly stated, quote, "The matter is not at rest," end quote. Ray Rice may be suspended indefinitely and may not be on an NFL roster, but the rumors continue to swirl on who saw what when in the NFL offices. A law enforcement officer told the Associated Press that the video from the incident within the elevator was sent to the league security chief Jeffrey Miller in April. Miller says that he, quote, "unequivocally denies that he received any time of the copy of the video and had not watched it until it was made public on September 8th, end quote. The NFL has had its hands full recently with domestic violence cases, and now the NBA has one of its own. Jeff Taylor of the Charlotte Hornets was arrested Thursday on domestic assault charges in Michigan, according to the East Lansing police. The NBA released a statement saying, quote, "We are aware of the arrest of Jeff Taylor and are investigating," end quote. Now, it's time for your fantasy tip of the week. Here on 3 in the Key, last week I got to go heavy on the back replacements, and Niall Davis and others did not disappoint. This week will be the first time you will be dealing with the problem of having players starting on their bye week. Often people become attached to their bench players unless you have more than 4 players on a bye. Don't be afraid to drop a player who is underperforming, such as a Kendall Wright or someone to that nature. So you should be willing to add a kicker or a defense who you will need. Many players who have not performed this season will not perform at all. It is important to win in an early week so you get your feet on the ground, and make sure you don't leave a gap in your starting lineup if you're really in doubt of that victory. That's my fantasy tip of the week. That's been what you missed. And when we return, we'll have Jake Higgins join us via Skype to talk ACC sports, Derek Jeter, and more. You won't want to miss. Welcome back. Now joining me for the first Skype interview of the year is Syracuse sports broadcaster from WAER-FM, Jake Higgins. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Will. I'm doing good, Ben. How about you?
I'm doing good. Glad that you could finally get on the show with us this year. Now, Florida State tops the AP Top 25 rankings, but no other ACC teams were able to make the list. Jake, what's going on right now with the ACC football?
ACC football, it seems to be pretty mid-tier right now. There's obviously Florida State up at the top. There was Clemson, who was in the top 25 right before Florida State beat them last week. But really, with Jameis Winston being out last week and Florida State still coming back to win that game, it really showed that they belong to be both at the top of the country and the ACC. There's haven't otherwise really been a lot of ACC matchups to show really the depth this season. There's Syracuse playing Notre Dame Saturday night at 8 p.m. prime time. That should be a good game. Notre Dame's ranked 8th in the country right now. But other than that, it's been
a little bit like that. All right, so you're Orange right now. They're 3-1. Are they going to be the next team to try to make a push, or is it going to be an undefeated Georgia Tech kind of team?
If Syracuse is gonna make a push, their passing game needs to get a lot better. That's both on offense and defense. Terrell Hunt, he's known for his legs. The only problem is his arm is not that great. He only has 1 touchdown thrown on the season. He ties Riley Dixon, the punter, with most touchdown passes on the team.
Wow.
The running game is not a problem, but then again, on defense, the passing game, the secondary is a little bit suspect. So Scott Schaefer and his crew for defense need to step it up. If Syracuse is going to make a push right now, they need to show up against Notre Dame. They got Louisville next and then Florida State. It's a tough 3 games to try to make a push in that top 25.
Well, obviously this year, for all football, it's been really a difficult thing for the NFL and for college football to be able to take all of the crises and emergencies that have kind of been happening. Jameis Winston has quickly taken the entire college football spectrum by storm, but of course he's had quite a few hiccups of recently. Is the notoriety that's coming with this player a good thing or bad thing for college football?
I think the notoriety that's coming with Jameis Winston is bad. And the reason is the Heisman winner before him, Johnny Manziel, had a lot of off-the-field issues as well. However, he didn't seem to run into either foolish legal trouble or foolish PR trouble that just tarnishes the reputation of whatever team he's representing, whether it be Florida State now or whatever NFL team takes him next season. Johnny Manziel did a great job of, at the end of the day, he left everything on the field and he made his off-the-field antics completely separate to that. Yeah. He's the backup at Cleveland right now, and if he gets to start this season, we will see if that continues on. But Jameis Winston overall, I don't think is giving a great impression to college football. You saw the quarterback for Syracuse, Terrell Hunt, he got suspended from the Villanova game for throwing a punch after being tackled and was ejected for the rest of the game. Syracuse barely escaped with that win. It's that type of mentality and those types of blunders that they're the reason that Jameis Winston's been taken off some draft boards by some teams.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, being in New York, being up at Syracuse, there's going to be definitely some hardcore Jeter fans up there. What's basically been your take on this final season for Derek Jeter and his final game last night?
Well, I grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. I was never a Yankees fan, but I've grown up around Yankees fans. I have to respect Jeter for the captain that he is, playing every single season with the Yankees. And it's really been interesting seeing a lot of my friends on campus here, a lot of other people that I know. A lot of them say it's really like their childhood is dying. This is someone that they grew up with. This is someone that they would tune in with their dad or with their grandfather or their family every single day during the summer, and they'd watch him lead the Yankees. And suddenly he's going to be gone. It's just like Mariano last year.
Certainly.
No one really knew who was going to fill that hole. Derek Jeter is one of very few captains in the history of New York Yankees baseball. How is that going to be replaced? And that's just the feeling that is really going on in New York right now of who's coming next, because there has to be somebody. It's the Yankees.
Hopefully it's not Stephen Drew. We're hoping it's not Stephen Drew, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, obviously, Syracuse has got a lot more than just football going on, and they're gearing up right now for basketball. The talent you guys lost last year with Fair, Ennis, and Grant, who actually went to my high school, so I've got always this endearment for him, all moved on to the next level. What can we look forward to with Syracuse basketball this season?
There's 2 freshmen coming in this year that look to make an impact. That is Caleb Joseph, a point guard who is supposed to be very Tyler Ennis-esque. He's supposed to be very smart with the basketball, very quick with the dribble, doesn't always take the shot, but he can when he needs to. And then there's a strong forward by the name of Chris McCullough. Was actually supposed to come out last year, and he was supposed to be a freshman last year, but went to Brewster Academy because of academic issues, then left Brewster for undisclosed reasons, went to IMG. He's the number 6 overall recruit in the nation. The only worries are if his academics are going to hold up for him to be able to play. But he's a freak of nature. He's about 6'10", 230, and he can fly above the rim if you watch his highlight tapes.
I see. So he's a little bit of a CJ Fair kind of guy coming from Brewster's Academy. Well, not ultimately coming from Brewster's, but being in that lineage.
Exactly, yeah. Syracuse has quite the little bit going on from Brewster's Academy. There was a Ron Bus Patterson who's on the team right now, the shooting guard.
I see.
There's plenty of other history that goes back. It's really a recruiting wheelhouse for Jim Boeheim.
Well, sounds like it. Well, thank you, Jake, so much for joining us. We look forward to having you on very soon. That's all for Jake, but when we return, we will liven up the debate as well, get you ready for more college basketball talk and football talk. You won't want to turn down this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 3 in the Key. Let the debate begin, guys. Today, joining the debate table, we have Josh Kurlak from KUJH-TV, Nick Schwartz from 1320 KLWN, and Shane Jackson from the Kansan. Thank you guys for joining us today. We are getting you here with the points system going on. The points, of course, don't matter, but to these guys, it means everything. Let's go ahead and get you started on everyone's favorite topic right now, guys, the Derek Jeter situation. In case you missed it, he's retiring. I don't know if you guys got that at all. He's retiring, and basically, guys, just want to know, where does this guy rank in the all-time guys of your generation of baseball? You can respond by telling me what you think, or if you guys want to go straight into poem, you guys may start that well.
Well, I mean, I'll lead it off here. I think
no poem?
No, I don't have a poem. I'm sorry for all those watching. I didn't have enough time to prep for that. But for me, Derek Jeter has got to be top three. Just to start things off, I mean, top three in our generation. It's tough to come up with anybody else in that conversation that would be better than Derek Jeter. And I don't think he's necessarily the most talented player that we've ever seen, but he's he rose to the occasion in championship moments. I think he's one of the, if not, I'd say he's very memorable to say the least there.
Yeah, I think baseball is unique because you can have varying levels of greatness. And Derek Jeter, yeah, like you said, probably not the most talented player of all time. Definitely not one of the not the most talented player of our generation. But when you factor in everything that comes along with Derek Jeter, the fact that he's been on a winning team for a long time, playing in the media capital of the world, and still somehow managing to not have everybody hate him for some reason or another. He did that by being really boring. Right. But again, that's what makes Derek Jeter unique. And I think he's certainly a top 10 player of our generation. He's probably not the best. The numbers would just not back that up. But when you go back to the early 90s and you think about all the great shortstops, whether it was Nomar or Tejada or Alex Rodriguez, it's ironic because at the time we thought all those guys were going to be the best, but looking back on it, there's only one guy who's still standing.
Right.
Yeah, this is definitely not anybody's favorite topic other than Ben Allen. He's kind of getting a plug for everything. But I'm personally not a Yankees fan, but I'm definitely a Derek Jeter fan. I definitely agree with you guys. He's definitely top three. The numbers don't indicate it. He's not an MVP. He's not, defensively, he's not even close to near being one of the better shortstops. But the fact that he has been one of the face of baseball, the face of the Yankees for such a long time, really just speaks for itself. And like you said, he's just a great character, and that goes beyond measures in baseball.
Right. I think his likability kind of helps with that. I will say one thing before we move on. Mike Trout, when it's all said and done, might be the best player that our generation has ever seen in Major League Baseball.
And that's funny because Mike Trout's peak is so high. We're talking about seasons that could go down as some of the best statistical seasons of all time. Derek Jeter never had that. But I think being around for as long as he has, 20 years with the same team, he was never really, really great. He was just always really good, and I think there's something to be said for that.
But at the same time, can you really credit him for being at the same team for that long when the same team is the Yankees? I don't think anybody's really leaving the Yankees.
Well, a lot of guys don't leave by choice, whether their play starts to suffer or fans get tired of them off-the-field controversies. Derek Jeter was able to rid himself of all of that, and I think a lot of times that gets looked past, but especially when you consider being in New York City, I think that's a pretty impressive feat.
Giving good points will always get you the point. Nick Schwartz, you get our first point of the day of the game here today. Going into our second segment here, and second question, guys. Bill Simmons of ESPN recently went on a rant on Roger Goodell, which ultimately relied on him calling him a liar. He has now been suspended from ESPN. I want to know from you guys, was it fair or foul?
Well, he wasn't really suspended just for the liar comment. He kind of went out and said, I dare you to call me or email me and saying I'm in trouble for saying this.
There's a few other things in there, too.
And there was, a few words that he always puts in his stories. If you're a Bill Simmons fan, you know the kind of stuff that he says. So he kind of just challenged ESPN to do something about it, and they had to. And, he really didn't have any proof on it. He's calling Roger Goodell a liar, but there's no actual proof behind, if he's lying right now. The proof isn't out there yet. So, from a journalistic standpoint, I think you guys can all agree, you can't really just come out and say somebody's a liar like that. Right.
It was fair, I guess, from the standpoint of ESPN suspending him. He's one of their employees. They could do whatever they want to him. But I will say, I will defend Bill Simmons. I'm glad that somebody did it and finally said something about Roger Goodell in the NFL, because I think for the longest time, everybody's been afraid to challenge the NFL because it's a giant sports conglomerate that nobody challenges, and it's one of the greatest sports in the world, and TV ratings are off the charts and everything. But right now, the NFL's in a dark place, and I think most people have started to now kind of turn with Bill Simmons and challenge the NFL and say, hey, something's got to change. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think more so like what you said, Shane. It's never a good idea to go into your job do something that your boss doesn't like, and then basically dare him to fire you.
Right,
No matter how much job security you think you have, it's not a good idea to tell an old rich guy that I dare you to use your authority against me. So yeah, I don't think there's any big deal for him calling Goodell a liar. Bill Simmons has made a career off making really bold predictions, and I just think that it's just a bad idea to go after a big-time CEO like that.
He started off, first point of his game, Josh Kurlak.
Hey, hooray.
Now we're tied 1-1 here. Shane's got to pick it up a little bit. Another Yankee great, or not so great, is a guy named Phil Hughes. Mr. Hughes has had a sensational year for the Twins this year, racking up 209 and 2/4 innings, or 2/3 innings. He is now 1/3 away from being able to reach a bonus in his contract of $500,000. He is not scheduled to pitch again this year, meaning he would not be able to get the $500,000. The Twins have offered him the opportunity to go out and pitch, thus getting that extra $500K, but he is saying no. Guys, if you were offered a $500,000, would you turn it down?
Are you kidding me? No, I don't think I've ever, if you summed up all the money I've ever had in my life, I don't know if it reaches $500,000. Phil Hughes, I get what you're doing. It's a really nice gesture. A lot of times if somebody offers you a gift, the first time you say, oh, no, that's way too much. And then they say, no, I insist. That's when you generally go, oh, well, all right, I guess I'll take it. Phil Hughes is trying to be a nice guy, trying to be a good team player, but he's only made upwards of, I think, $20 million in his career. $500,000 is not chump change. I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we're college students. We're not going to turn down $500,000. But talk about Phil Hughes first. First of all, he got $250,000 for reaching 180 inning mark. He got $250,000 for reaching 195 inning mark. So right there is his $500,000 on top of his $8 million that he gets for the contract just for pitching for the Twins. Not to mention, a record was on at stake here with the walk to strikeout ratio. Had he just walked one person and not struck out somebody, then he's not the best all time in that category. So I think it goes more to that. But of course, we're not going to turn down $500,000.
That's a good point too. I didn't even think about the Brett Saberhagen record being broken there. But here's my thing. Shoot, you're playing for the Minnesota Twins. You guys haven't had a good season at all. You pitched 209 2/3 innings for the Twins. You did brilliant. Get all you can from them. I mean, you only play baseball for so long, and after that, your career is over, and then you got to find something else. So you talked about the money that he's making. I'm sure Phil Hughes will be just fine if he spends his money correctly. But I mean, I'm just saying I would go for it. Give me one more out. I'll go in and get a save or something, maybe another strikeout to even cement my name in the record books even more in that record.
And that one out could be a one pitch. He just throws one pitch and he grounds out to the shortstop.
You know how much stuff you can buy with $500,000?
You can buy a lot of stuff.
Pretty much everything.
You can buy the Detroit Tigers, but I thought they were playing them, so.
Yeah, he may feel good about himself now, but ask Phil Hughes how he feels about that decision when he's retired and could use an extra $500K.
Exactly.
We're all tied up here, guys. 1-1. Everybody's got 1 point here, guys. Shane got on the board here with his first point of the game. Kansas City Royals are now joining the playoff hunt if they can get one more game to win. The Royals are now 1 game back from clinching a wild card spot and clinching possibly a division ability to get that spot. The Kansas City Royals are going into the playoffs very hot, guys. Are they dangerous?
Heck yes, they're dangerous. You know what? I've been preaching about the Royals for the past 2 years, and now they're finally coming to the forefront. Here they are on the doorsteps of the playoffs. You got to look at this team. If and when they hit, they're probably one of the best teams that the American League has. I mean, sure, the Angels.
It's a big if, though.
It's a big if. But I'm just saying, are they dangerous in the playoffs? They have the best 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys that Major League Baseball may have ever seen. Herrera.
Ever
Davis,
seen.
Yeah, you dive into the statistics, those 3 guys right there. I mean, I'm not going to read off a bunch of things because I don't have anything in front of me, but I've looked at it, and it's hard to find another trio of relievers that has done what those 3 guys have done for the Royals.
But what was the thing you just said? You said if they can hit, and that's been the the calling card all season long. If they can hit, they can't do it for an extended period of time. Not to mention they are horrendous when it comes to playing big games in Kauffman Stadium. And that wild card game right now it looks like it's gonna be in Kauffman Stadium. You get 30,000+ people there. The Royals could choke that game up, and suddenly you're out of the playoffs after 1 game.
The Royals have had 2 really good hot streaks where all the bats got hot at the same time. But for the majority of the season, they've been a below-average lineup with good defense, good fielding, and you've had a great pitching staff, especially, like you said, the end of that bullpen. But there's no reason to believe that all of a sudden that lineup's going to just start getting hot again.
Well, here's my thing. Here's my theory. I'm not saying the Royals are going to come out like gangbusters, put up 7 runs in the wild card game on John Lester or something. But in the playoffs, most of the time, the scoring usually shrinks a little bit because the pitching is better. managers are managing the game differently.
That's another thing. Your manager is Ned Yost, and he's shown time and time again that he is willing. He will cost this team runs. He will cost this team games throughout the course of a season. When it's 162 games, you can sit there and go, oh, it's not that big of a deal. We'll get back on it next night. But in the playoffs, you can't afford to have your manager making critical errors, and Ned Yost has proven time and time again to be a pretty inept managerial guy.
And one of your main points was the pitching rotation, not to mention now that your second guy in Jason Vargas may not even be in the pitching rotation.
He's not going to be the
playoffs.
second. Yeah, he'll be the fourth at best. I mean, you go have Shields, Duffy, and then Ventura, and then maybe Vargas. But I think the Royals, I mean, you look at the Royals, they have easily the best speed in the major leagues. No question about it. Who is going to throw out Terrence Gore, Gerard Dyson, Alcides Escobar?
I got to get on base first.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's fine. We can get on base. There's no problem. They have the top 5 in hits in the American League and in all of baseball. I think this team, and you guys say you could disagree, they're more dangerous in the playoffs than they are in the regular season.
None of you guys get points. None of you guys get points. Never done this before. None of you guys get points. Y'all made good points this time, but none of y'all get points this time. We're going into the final question, guys. It's homecoming weekend here, guys. We're all excited. KU is trying to get a win desperately here against Texas to open up Big 12 play. Who's going to win the game, guys?
Texas is going to win the game. I know this isn't Texas of old. Charlie Strong's dismissed 9 players since he's been named head coach, but Kansas hasn't really came out and put 4 good quarters together. I don't really know why I would believe they would do it against arguably the best team they've played so far this season. I know they're only 1-2, but Texas still recruits Texas athletes. They still have the best facilities. They still have the best athletes. They still have some of the best coaches in America. So I don't really think Kansas has given me any reason to believe they're going to go and put 4 good quarters together against Texas.
Yeah, Texas is going to win this game. Kansas has scored, 24 points in that first quarter, then
Mr.
14 in that last quarter.
Mr. 2-10. 2-10, Mr.
They scored 14 in
Negativity.
that last quarter. You have not seen, that offense keep it for 4 quarters. Like Nick just said, I don't see how it's going to happen against the best defense they're going to face most likely all year. This is definitely, right now, it ranks as the second best defense in sacks. They've got 13 sacks through 3 games. And arguably, they got 3 guys who are up there for Defense Player of the Year watch list. I don't see how Kansas can get their offense going and get going against the Texas defense. I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. I think the Kansas defense is really good. I don't think Texas offense is that good, especially with a backup quarterback. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. But there's no doubt in my mind Texas is winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, if KU were to ever beat a Texas team, this is it. But will it happen? Probably not.
All negative here.
Yeah.
All negativity.
Well, I mean, you look at what Texas is doing. Yes, they're 1-2 on the season, and they had a game against UCLA where everything was in the making on paper. Texas could have won that game, but Kansas hasn't shown you that they're really good at anything. They're improved at a lot of things when you compare it to the last couple of years, but you have to remember this was one of the worst football programs in America for the past couple of years. So yes, there's improvement. I think that's the reason why there's even an inkling of optimism going into this game, but I think when they take the field, you're going to notice just how far behind the 8 ball Kansas still is as a program.
Exactly.
And one of the biggest question marks was Montel Kozar. He had a really good game last week, but it was kind of inflated because a lot of it was at bubble screens, whereas Texas is going to run a lot different defense, and you're not going to get those screens again, especially against this type of defense.
Well, guys, you heard it right here. Kansas football apparently is not good at anything. Nick Schwartz, you are a winner today of the debate segment here on 3 in the Key. Congratulations on winning it here where the points mean absolutely nothing. Thank you guys for joining us today. Make sure you follow us at 3intheKey on Twitter. And make sure you join in next week where we're going to get you more debate topics. But as for now, though, I'm Ben Allen, and this has been 3 in the Key.